Halloween night, 1938. A madman named Adolf Hitler had already started invading countries throughout Europe. People in the U.S. didn't want to think about armies and war, but suddenly, out of their radios, came the dreaded words, "We've been invaded." What sounded like a news broadcast complete with reporters was issuing warnings to listeners about aliens from Mars landing in New Jersey. Over the airwaves came the words,
"Good heavens, something wriggling out of the shadow like a great snake. Oh, yeah, I can see the thing's body now. It's large as a bear. It glistens like wet leather, but..."
Thousands of panicked citizens fainted, ran from their homes, and jammed telephone lines. But it proved to be nothing more than a lie. The U.S. wasn't being invaded at all. Actor Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater were broadcasting a radio adaptation of H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. Wells did issue a disclaimer at the beginning of the broadcast, saying it was a fictional drama. But for the thousands who tuned in late, it was more than just a Halloween story. It was frighteningly real. Wells said it was just his way of dressing up in a sheet and jumping out of a bush to say boo. Earlier that same year, in the spring of 1938, Adolf Hitler said he just wanted to annex a small part of Czechoslovakia, Sudetenland, an area on the border of Germany where many of German descent lived. He said they were persecuted Germans and demanded justice, encouraging those who were pro-Nazi in the area to stage terrorist attacks and rallies. But Hitler had more in mind than just part of the Czech nation. He wanted a world government. And he told his generals in Berlin, "It is my unshakable will that Czechoslovakia shall be wiped off the map." In an effort to keep peace in Europe, Italy, France, and Britain finally urged the Czechs to agree to German annexation of the small area. They thought this would stop Hitler's advance. They were wrong. Hitler had lied once again. Less than 6 months later, Hitler had occupied the entire country of Czechoslovakia. A few months after that, he invaded Poland, France, and Britain. Hitler and his lies had succeeded in starting World War II, where 60 million people died in the fighting. Adolf Hitler thrived on lies. He said, "The great masses of the people will more easily fall victims to a big lie than to a small one. The victor will never be asked if he told the truth." By means of shrewd lies unremittingly repeated, it is possible to make people believe that heaven is hell and hell heaven. The greater the lie, the more readily it will be believed. So said Adolf Hitler. Jim Jones, who formed the People's Temple, had set up a colony of about 1,000 followers in Jonestown, Guyana in 1977. A year later, U.S. Congressman Leo Ryan traveled to Jonestown to investigate claims that some of the people were being held hostage against their will. Cult members killed him as he tried to leave the country. The following day, Jones had 912 of his followers drink cyanide-laced punch and commit suicide with him. Jones, however, died from a gunshot to the head. Jones argued that since God was the force of love, then God incarnate must be the most loving person, and that person had to be Jones himself. Jones told his inner circle that of course he wasn't God, but the people were so religious that to bring them around to socialism, he had to tell them these things. His followers say they believed in his godlike qualities and said he could see into the future. Jim Jones said, "When your world has failed you, I'll be standing, because I am freedom, I am peace, I am justice, I am God." He also said, "It is written that you are a God. I'm a God and you're a God, and I'm a God and I'm going to stay a God." Those investigating the suicide site in Guyana made a startling discovery, one that perhaps explains why the people could be so easily deceived. There were no Bibles in Jonestown. The cult members were weaned away from their Christian beliefs to follow Jim Jones.
Linkletter saw a small boy scrawling wildly on a sheet of paper. "What are you drawing?" Linkletter asked. "I'm drawing a picture of God." "You can't do that because nobody knows what God looks like." Well, they will when I'm finished, the boy confidently replied. So what does God look like? Can we draw our own portrait of him? What kind of a God shall we seek for? In our pluralistic age, we must ask, which God shall we seek? Where shall we find him? And how shall we know that we have found him? I believe in God is perhaps one of the most meaningless statements we can make today, because the word God has become a canvas on which each is free to paint his own portrait of the divine. Like the boy scribbling at his desk, can we draw a picture of God? Can we make him out to be whatever kind of a God we want? For some he is psychic energy. For others he is whatever is stronger than I am, or an inner power to lead us into deeper consciousness. To say I believe in God might simply mean that we are seeing ourselves in a full-length mirror. So how shall we begin our journey to find God? The Swiss theologian Karl Barth was right when he said that there are only two ways to attain knowledge of God. One is to begin with man and to reason upward. The other is to begin with God and accept his revelation to us.
I don't know, I mean, everybody has something that they believe in and that they want to invest their time and energy in, and if they believe in it and it's helping them feel better. Some people, use different ways of feeling better, of releasing anger, releasing pain, and if that's how they do it, then it's good. Anything that's positive is good.
The whole universe, everything is built, it's created through vibration.
I haven't seen very much proof.
For the moment, we're going to begin with man and reason upward. We will uncover some concepts of God that are unworthy of him, ideas constructed from within the heart of man, idolatrous images that are manufactured out of the raw desires of the human mind. The primary motivation for such idolatry is that we want a God who is more tolerant of us, a God who is less demanding, less judgmental. Our idolatrous nature is fueled by a commitment to individualism. Americans nurtured on consumerism go God shopping at spiritual smorgasbords, trying to find a deity that is best suited to their tastes. Let me give you two examples of building a conception of God from man upward. Today, for example, we have the God of my gender. Radical feminists seek to refashion God according to their desires and inclinations. Some religious denominations now have lectionaries, hymnals, and Bibles that have inclusive language, and these eliminate all male references to God. Where the word king is applied to God, they add the word queen. God as father is translated father and mother, or maybe just mother. Thus the scriptures are rewritten to serve the feminist agenda. Now let's agree that many men have abused women. Males have misused their authority and have put their own needs first. But I need to ask, do we need to give God a makeover to address these concerns? For example, at a women's conference, the god Sophie was created in the minds of women and prayed to. A God created by women for women. Another related version is the God of my sexual preference theology. This is the view that God happens to approve of my sexual lifestyle, no matter what it might be. Someone has said that we keep cows for milk, sheep for wool, and God to give us continual affirmation and acceptance. How can we accept the God of my personal self-authentication when Isaiah warned, "Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes and clever in their own sight," the prophet says.